Hello, I'm Adrian. I'm bad at introductions, so that's what we're going to be having. This is just an introductory to special effects and prosthetic makeups. It's a big topic to talk about, so I've kind of tried to condense it into as much information as possible without overloading people, because we've already got so much information. I also included names. Trust nobody, not even yourself, Cosplay edition. There is a little bit of fake wounds and blood and stuff like that, if people are cool with it, just as a pre-warning. If not, then close your eyes. So let's start with the next slide. So what is prosthetics makeup? Well, basically, in short, it's using makeup and prosthetic pieces to basically turn a person into somebody else, essentially. It is a little bit separate from, special effects is kind of separate from makeup because special effects uses prosthetic pieces, whereas makeup is just putting something directly onto the actor's face. We're going to be covering just basics, body painting, wound scars, prosthetic pieces, making it, and the application. And then there's a couple of memes thrown in. I will stop while the people sit down. I should probably remove it because I can't see. Oh no, it's golden. It's fine. Right next to you. So, makeup basics. There's a lot of different things. You probably already know this kind of stuff, but I'm just going to do a basic one through it. So we have foundations, color wheels, and I cannot remember the thing, concealer. There we go. So here we have your basic foundations. They come in powder, liquid, cream, serum, and water. So it depends what suits your skin type, because some people could have dry skin, combination skin, oily skin, just whatever suits your needs. And they also come in a wide variety of colors. Color wheels. These are good for concealing and hiding bits of your complexion. They have different colors on them, such as red, green, yellow, purple. Red color wheels, my god, I can't see, so I'm going to have to kneel. Red color wheels cancels blue and dark circles on darker skin tones. If you have green, if you've ever wondered what the green thing on the concealer color wheel is, it's to cancel out redness, rosacea, and sunburn, and you can wear that underneath your foundation, and it just helps conceal it and neutralize your skin. Purple. Purple is for brightness, dullness, and just anything else red on your skin tone. I keep looking at it. Yellow basically just calms overall redness on all skin tones, so if you don't want to use the green or the purple, you can just put yellow on there and it should help cancel out it. If you've got a lot of red, then use the green, but otherwise yellow is fine. Primers, setting products. These just basically hold your makeup in place and stop it from moving throughout the day. There's a lot of different brands for this. I prefer cruelty-free brands, but also obviously just research your brand and it's what suits best on your skin type. Primers and setting sprays, they're pretty much essential. Right? Oh, that's quick. So let's move on while we're talking. How can you tell which is which? So if you're not sure what is best for your skin type, look at the ingredients list. So, oil-based ingredients. This is a lot of information, but I will probably post them online if anybody wants to see them later.
Feel free to take out your phone to take a photo.
Yeah, feel free to take a photo. I'm kneeling, it doesn't really matter at this point. But basically, oil-based. Look for anything that has an oil extract in it towards the top. So, almond oil, avocado oil, I cannot see, I've written on my own slide, seed oils, anything that's got oil near the top will be oil-based. Water-based is anything with water at the top. So even if it's the second ingredient or anything, as long as water is near the top, look for anything like that or anything that says aqua in it. That is a water-based foundation, primer, or concealer. Silicone-based, look for anything that ends in cone or oxane, pretty much. Anything that just sounds like a chemical like that would be silicone-based because it's essentially like a rubber or an elastomer. They can look similar to water-based because there will be water in some silicone-based makeups and foundations, but just as long as it says mostly the silicone stuff at the top, you should be fine. Always match your primer with your foundation type. So water-based foundations and water-based primers, oil-based foundations and water-based primers, because if you don't, when it wants to load, this will happen on your face. Pretty much. Oil and water doesn't mix, and it will happen on your face, and nobody will be there to save you, and especially not Harrison Ford. Basically. So if you ever wonder why your makeup may be patchy or melting off your face, this could be one of the reasons why. So essentially just look at the ingredients on the back of the list. Does it match your foundation? Does it match your primer? Does it match everything else? And it should stay pretty much consistent. Setting powders versus setting spray. So usually this is personal preference. So if you prefer primer over spray over a powder, then that's fine. Or if you prefer a powder over a spray, it just depends on your skin type. So setting powders and setting sprays. They come in many different forms. Usually if you've got a setting spray, spray it away from your face at least 30 centimeters. But we'll talk about powders first. So powders just absorb moisture, oil, basically anything like that on all of your skin types. So if you sweat throughout the day or you've got very oily skin, powders are good for absorbing that. Or if it's a particularly hot day, then just, powder usually helps mattify things. You can keep a compact in your bag as well.
It actually makes your skin feel quite smooth as well when you use the powders, I find. So it's like often when I didn't use powders, I just remember it being like really like quite wet and flabby. No, it's fine. So.
That's fine.
But yeah, I do recommend like powders actually is a really nice way to kind of like mattify the foundation certainly.
Powder's so good. They're good for holding your foundation in place as well. They can come in transparent or they can match your foundation tone. So clear powders will technically be white. It doesn't mean the powder is white, it just means it's completely clear. Or they can come in the same color as your foundation, whatever that matches with. They can be worn for a no makeup look. So again, if you don't want to put any makeup on, but you've got very oily skin or a lot of you feel clammy or sweaty, you can just put the setting powder on and it will help mattify your face. Or if it's the same color as your foundation, it will help because then you don't have to just cake your face in makeup and you can just put it on and it will mattify your face. Apply with a brush for an even finish. Probably obvious again, but literally just a brush will help even out the spread of the powder, whereas compacts are fine, or using a powder puff is fine, but I do find them a bit difficult to blend with because it's essentially just blotching stuff on your face. Setting sprays. They can help dry your skin by attracting and trapping the moisture. So if you've got dry skin, it's good for moisture. Different setting sprays will work for various skin types. So again, even if you've got oily skin, you can use a setting spray because you can get alcohol-based setting sprays that will dry quite what is the word for that? I don't want to say dry quite dry. Dry quite dry. Dry and it will
Patchy?
Yeah, patchy's not the word. It won't smudge. It'll just, you know what I mean? It's not going to melt off your face later in the day. I've just talked about that, so why didn't I press that? But there you go. Kryolan is a good brand for this because they do a lot of alcohol-based fixing sprays. You can get water-based ones, but I find them, this is just me personally, I can find them you're more prone to sweating them off. But again, it depends on your foundation type. So if you've got a water-based foundation and you've put a water-based spray on it, sometimes the droplets can, be a bit dodgy. Some contain oils such as coconut or hibiscus oil extract, which can be good for your skin because oil is good for moisturizing, keeps the moisture into your skin, keeps everything in place. Always hold it at least 14 inches away from your face because, obvious reason, you don't want to blind yourself. Or you don't want to get anything in your eye, especially if you've got contacts in. So hold it at least 14 inches or 13 centimeters away from your face. If I'm running through this too quick, for the Lord's sake, tell me. Body painting. So, body painting is basically just painting directly onto your skin. There we go, we've got some nice pictures. These are some examples of various body painting techniques, so you can combine it with cosplay. Here we go. It offers creative freedom. It is another form of cosplay that can be combined with it. Many types of body paints, and there's loads of different brands that you can use again for body painting. It's great for commercials, music videos, theatre, or if you want to do something where performance is related, it's a great form of expression. It's also a universal art form that can connect people together, so body painting, anybody can do that, literally. And you don't have to be naked, because a lot of people, I think, when they think body painting, they think nude, naked people. You don't have to be completely naked to paint your body, but it helps. Like, because then you can just, you know, you have more creative freedom. These are some brands for body painting. Ben Nye, Krylon, Snazaroo. I think the most common one that people use is Snazaroo because it's one of the cheaper brands. That's also a water-based one. Again, they will have ingredients on it because you can get cream-based, water-based, oil-based, or silicone-based, anything like that. Skin Illustrator in the corner there, the thing that has effects on it, that is an alcohol-based palette, so you will need IPA alcohol. It's just rubbing alcohol essentially to activate that, but once you use it, it's not going to move off your skin. It will not be smudging. Whoops. Skin types. Test for allergies. Probably obvious again, but test for allergies. So if you're not sure something's going to work, test it on your skin first, because the worst thing that you can do is put something on your skin and then find out you're allergic to it halfway in the day, and it's like, Christ. So what works best for your skin? So if you've got dry, oily, or combination skin, find what works for your skin. And again, you can look at the ingredients: water-based, silicone, oil-based, all of that good stuff. Temporary redness is quite normal, so if you remove latex or glue, your skin will be a little bit red. It might feel a little bit rough, but it should disappear after about 10 minutes. If it doesn't, then you can start panicking, basically. And then you know you're definitely allergic to it. What am I even pressing? Use the barrier cream to help. So barrier creams basically create a barrier between your skin and the makeup. So if you're not sure if you're a bit allergic to it, over a lot of allergic to it, or you just want to have a barrier cream over it, you can use a barrier cream and then put the makeup on top, and it will help reduce the redness. Or if you've put glue on your face or anything like that, then it will help. Prep and exfoliate your skin. So basically, just make sure your skin is completely clear before you put anything on your face. Exfoliating it is a good idea because it gets rid of dead skin cells, oil, anything that may interfere with your makeup throughout the day. Anything that could make it blotchy, patchy, anything like that. Moisturize. So again, after you've exfoliated your skin, moisturize your face because it will help soften it and also create a little barrier for you. You can put sunscreen under your makeup as well. So if you go out in really hot weather or it's a con and it's boiling and we don't want to roast to death, you can put sunscreen under it and then put your foundation on top of that and it should be fine. Just again, check your foundation ingredients. Just an example of oily combination skin. So usually with combination skin, you might find you have dry cheeks or oil on your forehead, or it might be the other way around. And again, these are the kinds of things you should be testing for. What the hell? Eyelash glue, anything like that. For the Lord's sake, do not put anything that you should not be putting on your face, because it is pretty bad. There are some people out there that have put poster paint, Snazaroo, anything like that on their face thinking it's going to be fine, it's water-based, it'll be fine. It's not skin safe. Don't put it on your face if it is not skin safe. Incorporating cosplay with body paint. So again, you don't need to paint your whole body for some characters. You have a question.
I do. What's Snazaroo for if it's not for on your skin?
Oh, you can put Snazaroo on your skin.
Okay.
Sorry.
I got a bit confused because you said don't put it on your face.
Oh no, poster paint.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, if I wasn't clear, for the Lord's sake, please tell me. No, you can't put Snazaroo on your face, just don't put poster paint on your face.
Okay, noted.
I probably
You've just ruined my next cosplay plan, but okay.
Oh no.
Thanks, Drew.
Oh no. You can't be a meme now.
Oh, I can.
That's fine. I probably mince my words a lot, so if I do that through this panel, I'm so sorry. I'm anxious as hell.
You're doing great.
Oh, thank you.
You are doing great. Keep it up.
Thank you. Yeah, when I'm nervous, I talk very, very quickly. So if I talk very quick or I say something, or if I say snazaroo and not poster paint, then just for the Lord's sake, yeah, just be like, Tree, what are you talking about? I had to Google what I was talking about just to check I wasn't talking shit, basically, before this panel. You can airbrush your body paint. Read up on convention guidelines. So before you put body paint on, obviously don't walk around naked. Alcohol-based body paint will last longer because it won't be smudged, but you can use, again, you will need IPA to activate them if you use Skin Illustrator. Seal your body paint, because you don't want to get it on anyone's costume or your own costume or on anything else. Some characters like Widowmaker will only have their face or their arms exposed, basically, in which case you wouldn't need to paint your whole body, only the bits that are exposed. Alcohol-based paints, basically just mentioned it, will be dry. So if you try and put water on it, anything like that, it's not going to come off. You need IPA, and it's smudge-proof and waterproof. Keep in mind, some body paint will stain your skin. Always test it beforehand, because we don't need an ED kind of page. So like, usually with cheaper brands like that, you will be getting what you pay for, and again, just test it if you're not sure. Hairspray, alcohol paints, alcohol-based spray, colourless powder, anything like that is pretty good for sealing body paint. Alcohol spray is good if you've got, again, particularly like, if you've got dry skin, you can put water-based or anything like that on your skin. Powder, but ultimately setting powder is pretty good. You can use hairspray as well. Hairspray is good. Just make sure it's dry. You can also test it, just smudge-proof. I probably forgot half of what I'm going to say. This is quick. We're already at wounds and scars and fake blood. So basically, you can create realistic wounds that are great for Halloween or horror-related themes. I actually have some little wound silicone patches here. You can pass these around. These are just basic flat molds that you can use to put silicone or anything like that on the top. Why have I come back up? What's wrong with me? You can use smaller prosthetics or makeup. So basically, it's still prosthetics, but just not as big as like big ones. Great choice of wording. They're not limited to one specific material, so you can use stuff like latex, tissue, you can put anything like that on your face. Just make sure you're not allergic to latex. You put cotton wool on your face, make it look like a wound. You don't have to specifically use silicone or anything like that. As long as it's skin safe and you're not going to kill yourself, then you're fine. Putty, latex, tissue, combination of things. You can create the illusion of a missing body part, so torn skin, missing jaw, anything like that, you can create an illusion. You can also paint, you can also like use black body paint to black out a wound and make it look darker if you need to, like to give the impression you're missing a thing. You can glue fake or rubber glass teeth or embed objects into the wound. Rubber glass is essentially like jelly glass. It's kind of like, I can't remember what they're called. You see them in flowers sometimes, you know, if you put them in jars to keep the flowers strong. It's kind of like that, but skin safe. You can create realistic blisters, boils, anything like that. This is a prosthetic jaw piece. That is a single piece of, it's just one silicone mold essentially, and then they've glued the teeth in, or you can sculpt the teeth in directly. If you sculpt the teeth in, it might not look as realistic because you won't get the same texture as you would if you put fake teeth or anything like that onto it. You can buy fake blood. You can buy it pre-made from varying consistencies. I just like Ben Nye. I promise I'm not sponsored by them. They're a really good brand. Or you can make it at home. You can use why is it? I'm forgetting. It's already in front of me. Any thickening agent basically is good for fake blood. So if you've got cornstarch, corn syrup, even corn flour, and you mix that with water, anything that's a thickening agent, you can use that to make fake blood with, because blood is thicker than water, and realistically it's not going to be like ketchup on your face. You can use ketchup, it just might not be realistic. So it depends how realistic you want. But anything with a thickening agent, or anything that will make it look like dark red. So food coloring, cocoa powder, anything like that would be good. Again, skin safe. You can make it edible as well, so if you want to be a vampire and drink it, but you don't want to use wine for obvious reasons, it would be good. That is a funny gif that I forgot why I put that there, but there was a point, I swear to God. I think it was to imitate the fake wounds. Obviously spears are into his legs, but for that it was to do with the needle thing, is that what it was? Oh right, yeah. Oh no, that was to do with salt, I didn't include the clip into it. But yeah, no, obviously they put foam in his legs and then just stuck 2 fake spears into it, and then he went, ah. Essentially. Here we go, prosthetics and some bigger effects. So to make these, if you want bigger effects, you will need a 2-part mold. This is a mold of my face from when I did my course. You need a positive and a negative to the mold. I will pass this around. It is very heavy, so just be careful with it. Be careful with my face! Unless you hate me, in which case, for God's sake, it's fine. Paranoid. Oh yeah, that's you on a bad day. I'm just kneeling on the floor right now. Ooh, are they back? Thank you. Brilliant. Oh, we can pass this around as well, actually. Probably best if I take them out of the bags. I have some prosthetic pieces here, actually, that you can have a feel with. One of them is kind of used, but it has some IPA. This one's actually good. It's a forehead piece that you probably can't see, but I'll pass it around. This one's got IPA-based skin alcohol paints on it that I've just mentioned and forgotten. But they are smudge-proof.
Just be careful not to tear it because it is quite...
Yeah, just be careful not to tear it. If it's already a little bit torn, but just be careful. And I will get the other one out, which is a nose. It feels and looks like real skin, which is pretty good because it's encapsulated silicone. If I can get the nose out. God! Right, there we go. This one is the one that I'm passing around now is a prosthetic nose piece that actually goes with that mold. It's a nose. Nose piece. Oh God, that's such a hideous thing. So, prosthetics is basically the process of... I should probably stand up. Ugh, you're getting old when your knees hurt. I can't even see the screen. Why am I even like this? I'm just going to sit back down. So it's basically the process of life casting, sculpting, molding to create a 3D makeup look. This is why I wrote everything down, because I cannot remember things. I know there's a chair there, but I prefer to kneel because I still can't sit. Jesus. Oh my God. There we go. So SFX involves, I think I mentioned it at the beginning, a combination of prosthetics and makeup techniques, whereas SFX makeup is basically just using makeup incorporated with other bits. You can incorporate it into cosplay. Again, you can be as realistic as you want or as cartoony as you want. It just depends on the look you want to go for. So if you want to look like someone's just rammed a knife through your face, go for it. Just be aware it might not be great if other people are like, ugh. But again, just go for it, honestly. Or you can just be as cartoony as you want. Common materials involve foam, latex, silicone, and gelatin for these kind of effects, just because last longer, realistic. Next slide, I'll go into talking about those a little bit more. But yeah, as the silicone piece that I've just passed around looks and feels like skin because it's encapsulated silicone, but you can have a good feel of it and you'll find out. I've just brought this point up, but it's there again. Basically, parts are glued onto the actor, whereas special effects is basically stuff that's directly painted onto the skin. I'm gonna move the mouse so I can see. It's not limited to costumes, so prosthetics are also created for patients that have a missing body part or a limb, so if somebody hears the word prosthetics, it's not just makeup, it's literally, they use it in hospitals to replace missing limbs. The Pale Man is a good example of a lot of different techniques. If anyone's seen Pan's Labyrinth, it's such a good film. That one uses an all-over skin prosthetic. I think they actually made like fake gloves that they inserted the eye to in the scene, and then they had another one which basically was just, I think it had fake eyes there that just was straight up sculpted into the hands, and then they obviously CG'd it because they had some CG. CG is used to clean up prosthetic effects that basically you can't always hide. You can hide the edges of things to a degree, but not always. Here's the fawn. Some special effects use green screen to hide certain effects. So basically, obviously, the actor does not have broken E4 legs. So they had him on stilts, and they just green screened his legs out, but they physically built the rest of the prosthesis so that it would look realistic, and then they just green screened the rest of it out. Bill Nye, this one's a good one. Is his name Bill Nye? I nearly said Ben Nye.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank God I didn't say Ben Nye. Basically for him, Davy Jones, his makeup is very, very complicated, but I think for the look they were going for was to get it as realistically as possible. So for that one, they only painted his mouth and his eyes, and then they just put mocap dots, and then they CG'd the rest of the prosthetic, so that it would look as realistic as possible. A lot of the time nowadays, I think to save on budget cuts, people tend to CG the makeup, but most of the time practical effects will look better during the film. We're going to look at a video, so this is fun. This is a clip from The Fly that uses some prosthetic makeups, but they did it, a mixture of it being very subtle. If anyone's seen this film, it's very, very good. If you haven't, then this is a snip that I recommend you watch. If it will let me play it. Will it let me play it? Let me play the video, damn it! Oh dear. Hang on a minute. Let's see if we can get this to play.
Oh.
If I press the button, will it let me play it? No! That's the next video. That's a good one. It's good. We're gonna watch it next. Is it playing now? Or is it not playing? You're not letting me play. Right, let's just end the slideshow. And then reboot it, and it might come up if I want. There. Oh no, we had the button there. Damn. Let me refresh the page. It's not putting the screen there right now. You know, let's watch it from here. Can we still see that? Yeah, good. Golden. If it wants to play. How could this happen to me? Come on. Will it play? Come on, man. I don't think it's the internet. I think it's...
It's on the desk.
Oh, wait a second. Let me just see if I can pull it from the USB. Do that. Let's just watch it if I click on clips. I can't see what is what because I don't label things. That's great. I think it's a mover. I can't remember what one is the... What's that one? Let's see what this one is. Oh, hang on a second. This might be a funny one. Oh my God, come on. Why are you like this? No! Oh, wait a minute. There we go. We may have a... If it shows the bird... Why are you like this? Windows does not like the video. You know, the one time that we read the thing and it's like not doing the thing. Right, we'll have to watch the video afterwards. We can go back and watch the video afterwards. Which time do we have? Why you were not doing that? It's a MOV file, so it should have done it, but if it didn't... I had a face-off clip as well, which is that film is good. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's also Nicolas Cage, so it will be cursed to a degree. But it is very, very good. From Clean Slide. You know what, if it plays this video, and it's not the other one, I'm going to be like, why? We'll watch the video afterwards. There we go. So making a prosthetic. What does it involve? It involves various steps. Again, I'm going to condense this into like as much as possible because it's a really, really big topic. So I'm just kind of giving you a very watered down version of it, like a very watered down version of it. But essentially, take an impression of where you want to apply the prosthetic. So the head, the hand, the leg, wherever you want to put the prosthetic, the whole head, if you want a whole head prosthetic. Make a cast or a master copy of it. Sculpt the piece using oil-based clay, known as a plastiline. I have some of this clay here. It's different to water-based clay. Water-based clay will dry out. You can, I guess, use a water-based clay, but you have to keep it moist. Otherwise, yeah, it will crack and just wouldn't be very good. But plastiline or even monster clay, that's a good clay to use, will work best. I'll pass this around so you can have a look. You can have a play with that. It just feels like plasticine basically, but it's clay. Sculpt it using oil-based clay. Apply a mold release to your piece before creating the negative part. So the positive and a negative to a mold is like the one that I passed around. You need both of those to create the piece. Negative copy using a sturdy material, so you can use ultracal, which is a casting plaster, or you can use resin. The blue mold that I passed around of the nose was a master copy using resin. Fill and cast your piece, and bam, you've got a prosthetic. Lifeform is a good silicone that you can use to cast and take impressions of people's faces. I think it's the same thing they use in dentists, so if you've ever had a gum shield taken or a mold of your mouth taken from the dentist and it's not a nice experience, they may have put this in your mouth at some stage.
It says you can't taste the picture.
Yeah, it's a shame you can't taste the picture, but it's not pleasant. That you might have put that in your mouth. I don't think it would have been alginate. I don't think they would have put alginate in your mouth. They might have put alginate in your mouth. If they did, that's very unfortunate. Alginate is basically cheaper, and it's a one-time mold because it's essentially like algae kind of based. It's also very, very, what's the word other than yeah, flimsy, there you go. It'll be very, it's flimsy, but you can tear it very easily. So it's like Jello almost. You have to be very, very careful. Silicone is reusable, you can always reuse silicone. Always use a platinum-based silicone because platinum is going to be skin safe. Platinum silicone is basically silicone that uses a platinum-cured metal, and it's non-toxic as a result. I know it doesn't sound like it's going to be skin safe when you use platinum to cure it, but essentially it is. It just means it purifies it so that it's not like, you know, it's not going to be like destroying your skin essentially. Tin silicone is just basically silicone that's cured with tin as a metal, and it's not really suitable for your skin or long-term use on the skin at least. It's good for general mold making, so if you see a tin-based silicone, general mold making is pretty good for that. You don't need to use a resin to make a two-part mold, you can use silicone, but just make sure it's not going to stick to whatever silicone you're using. Bald caps. So casting a body part, you need a bald cap. You're going to look like an egg temporarily when this goes on your head, but you need it for, it basically keeps your hair out of your face or anything like that, and it allows you to have like a blank canvas for when you're casting, because then you can sculpt, if you want a head prosthetic or a full cowl, it allows you to basically sculpt it onto, basically directly onto the copy of your head, and you don't have your hair in the way. Oh god, yeah, that story. Thanks for reminding me. This is a fun story. When I had my head cast, basically the guy that did it thought I was dead, like temporarily. Because think of it like having a facial. Head cast would usually last about 20 minutes, and I fell asleep during my head cast because I was that relaxed. And poor Nick, the guy that did my head cast, literally thought I was dead. Like, he was shaking me and I just wasn't moving because I'm a dead to the world sleeper. I don't know about anyone else, but literally I was dead to this universe. And he was like, Dre, you're alive! And I was just like, After 20 minutes, at which point he'd already started ripping the silicone off my face. And I can imagine his face went, oh, for Christ's sake, immediately after. That's a fun story. So yeah, you can fall asleep during your head cast, but if you do, please be a light sleeper because you don't want the person to think you've died. If in doubt, test it. So again, you're not sure it's going to be safe on your skin, test it. Use a patch test, just test it. This was a video, but I don't think this thing likes videos. It was basically Jim Carrey had to wear this makeup for 92 to 96 days. And I think he came in at about 4 or 5 in the morning to put this stuff on so that they could film at about 8. This stuff takes a long time to put on because it's a lot of, if you want it to look neat, it can take a while to put on depending on how big or how small the prosthetic is. On that, he had like 3 different pieces that he had on his face, and the hair was just a full head piece. So as you can imagine, it's very, very tiring. And as cosplayers, we know it's very straining to wear that kind of stuff on your face for that long. Yeah, poor guy. Like, he had so much patience at the end of it.
Yeah, he wanted to quit after day 2, actually.
Did he?
They actually brought in a torture specialist from CIA to teach him how to put up with it, 'cause it was 6 hours total every day. He was doing all of it.
Good God.
And he said to him, start smoking. So he would start chain smoking in between takes because it would really help relax him. And sometimes the yak hair would catch on fire when he was wearing it. No word of a lie, it's all the behind the scenes stuff for that as well. It's,
God help the baby.
yeah, I know. It was basically just to do robotic, really.
I think in the clip that I've got, he was just there like, I learned patience. And now it's like, ooh, God. I would have died during that anyway. I would have been like, ugh, after day 1. But yeah, no, he had to do that for 92 to 96 days, however long it was that they spent filming that every day, and I just can't imagine yeah. I just don't even go there. Additional notes for body casting. So, obviously, if you're going to cast someone's face and you want their mouth to be open, you can shove a cardboard tube in there just so that you can breathe. And obviously don't block the airways, don't block your nose. That's the most important thing. You don't want to be done. You shouldn't be plastic. Always apply a bald cap, so if you're casting the head, again, apply a bald cap, keeps your hair out of your face, keeps anything like that. Be comfortable with nudes. So if you're doing a full body cast or a partial body cast, the person will probably be topless or even completely naked, depending on what you have to cast. If you're going to cast someone's full body, depending on what it's for, you can wear like underwear on that, but usually silicone will stick and like get in the way of clothes, depending on what you're using. It's just not a fun time, and you also won't get an accurate impression of the person's body. So yeah, just be comfortable with that. If you're going to cast a whole body or a half body torso piece, if you want to sculpt a prosthetic onto a chest, a shoulder, the back, anything like that. Make sure eyeliner and mascara is removed because silicone likes eyeliner, and the last thing you want to do is rip all your eyelashes out and be like, oh, for God's sake. And then you go into work and your boss wonders why you've got no eyelashes. I siliconed my face. If you're using tape on your skin, for the law's sake, medical grade tape. Like, make sure it's medical grade, so just don't put duct tape on your face or anything like that. your face. You're looking at me like, ooh. So yeah, don't duct tape your face. Anything that's not meant to be on your skin, just don't put it on your skin because it can irritate, cause a rash, and interfere with God knows what else. Again, keep your nostrils clear. Some people put drinking straws or cut drinking straws into your nostrils, but it's best not to really. I wouldn't advise doing it because it would obstruct the airways, and usually with silicone, again, just don't, you can just put it under the nose, but it's best to just go and then just create an airway. You can go and fill the gaps in afterwards. It's not a problem. The process will last about 15 to 20 minutes for a head cast, or depending whatever you're casting, just to allow the time for the silicone to cure, and then you can put a plaster bandage on top of that to secure the mold. I have an example of that. This was a mold of my hand in which one of my fingers fell off in transit, which is okay. It better not be foreshadowing, but you know, there you go. That's just an example of what you can get. Just be careful with it, but it's all good. It's all good. Next. There we go, plaster bandages to create the bandages. I can't even English anymore. Bandages to create a shell of the mold. It's being passed around very carefully, so you'll see exactly what I mean. You can have a feel, have a touch about it. Obviously, don't throw it across the room, and it's fine. Vaseline your edges when creating the shell. So we don't want the 21st century equivalent of being entombed in anything, for the Lord's sake, because yeah, just don't bury yourself in plaster. So if you're going to do a head cast, you will need the front and the back of your head. Is it okay? You will need the front and the back covered. You create a ridge to put when you're gonna cover the front or the back, which is Vaseline the hell out of it so the plaster won't stick. Bleh. Don't rush anything. For the Lord's sake, don't rush it, because rushing will cause panic and panic will cause mistakes. I know it can be difficult not to panic, especially if you're an anxious person, but try and keep as calm as possible when you're doing a head cast, because you don't want to rush, get anything in somebody's eye, you don't want to cause pain to the actor or whoever that you're taking the head cast for. Especially if you have to get it off, you've got to get it off as quickly and as timely as possible, and you need as few mistakes as possible. It can be very, very messy, so protect the floor, protect your clothes, protect the area you're putting in. You can cut up bin bags, anything like that, as long as the floor is protected. Especially if you're doing it in a hotel room, which has happened. I have stories literally of my effects teacher. He worked on films, I think he did Minotaur, he also worked on The Hobbit. He made Jaw Piece for Mad Max Fury Road. I got to see that was fun. Basically, he was telling me how he did a head cast of the actors in their hotel room. And when they did that, they had to move the bed, they had to move everything, and they bin bagged the whole floor. Because obviously it's very, very messy, you can get it everywhere, it's not a fun time, especially if you're working with plaster. So do it in an open area. Anyway, you're not going to create mess. Create casting a prosthetic, the pros and the cons. To make a quick note as well, when you're sculpting, you can use texture stamps to get skin texture, so you don't have to sculpt the skin individual texture on it. This is a life form silicone of a cabbage that I took, and I actually used the cabbage to, that's a fun thing, oh god, use the cabbage to stamp skin texture on, and you can create the veins, any dryness. It works pretty well actually, but I'll pass that around and you can have a feel of that for some life form silicone. Life form is really, really good for taking impressions on stuff. Again, you get an exact copy of things. What time we are? Oh god, I'll try and speed through this. Silicone prosthetics. So, foam latex prosthetics and gelatin prosthetics. These are various materials you can use to create different prosthetics. There's again a whole lot more to talk about. This is just a very condensed version of it. Silicone, so the pros and the cons of silicone. Soft and flexible, moves with the feel of real skin. I can't even see because my friggin' wig is in the way. Silicone is measured by Shore. So with silicone, Shore is a hardness scale. So anything that's got a Shore A is soft, anything that's got a Shore D is hard, and usually the lower the number, the lower the number, the softer it is. No, the harder it is. Or I think it's softer it is, the lower the number, the higher the number, the harder the material is going to be. It's easy to mix. Usually it's got a 1-to-1 ratio. Always check when you're mixing your silicones what the ratio is, whether it's by weight or by volume, because that will make a difference. Because if it's by weight and it looks like you've poured something more into one cup than you've poured the other, it would still be correct just as long as the weight is the same. If it's by volume, basically pretty obvious by eye, just stare at the cup and if the volume is the same, it'll be fine. If it doesn't say what it is, usually check the instruction books on the side, but it will say volume by weight or volume, so it doesn't matter which one you use. It won't rot and it'll last for decades, and curing is usually done at room temperature. The cons of silicone, it can be hard to paint. Silicone sticks to silicone, so unless you have silicone paints, it can be difficult. The reason I could put Skin Illustrator on that silicone patch that I did is because it's been encapsulated with Baldies, which is a bald cap material, which is essentially creating a mask over the silicone. So it creates like a little pocket between the silicone and the paint, so it will stick. If you're going to paint directly onto silicone, silicone will stick to silicone. So make sure you've got silicone paint or anything related to that. It can be very, very heavy. So if you've got a quite thick prosthetic piece, it can make you feel like you're just wearing like a weight, and then it's like, you can't reuse it once you've applied it. So when you've basically cast a prosthetic and you've blended all the edges, when you take it off, those edges will no longer be blendable. Or if they can, you'd have to put something on it, like you'd have to put something between the silicone and where you're putting it, just so the edge will blend. Otherwise, it'll just look like you've got a line from where you've put the prosthetic. And it's often very, very expensive. 1 kilogram of life-form silicone for parts A and B can cost up to 40 quid. So if that's 40 quid, 2 kilograms would be probably double that cost. Or if you want like 4 kilograms, it'd be like in the £100 zone, like 200 quid. So it can be very expensive. Foam latex prosthetic. It's light and fluffy, it's reasonably easy to repair if it's torn. You can paint it with Pax paint, and it can be made as tough as leather or very, very soft, depending. This is like a little fizz gig thing that I did. It's the face before I put the hair onto it. It's not foam latex, but it feels like foam latex, so I'll pass it around and you can all have a look at that. It can rot in as little as 6 months. Liquid latex can rot very quickly as well because it will dissolve. Mixing it is not easy with foam latex. There's a lot of different things to consider, so depending on what catalyst component you've put in it will depend on how it sets. You also need a dedicated oven and a mixer to mix it with. So don't use the same mixer you're going to mix ingredients with. Don't use the same oven you cook your food in to mix this with, because the fumes will be very, very toxic. The natural oils in your hands can alter the composition, so always wear gloves. Can't believe I forgot to mention that. For the Lord's sake, wear gloves when you're doing this, because the oil on your hands, if you've got anything on your hands, can alter the composition of the chemicals. And again, liquid latex can rot and it'll be yellow over time. So if you wonder if you've got latex prosthetics and you wonder why it's gone stiff or why it's gone a bit funky, it's probably because it's rotten over time. Gelatin. Gelatin is basically, well, it's gelatin in it, but it feels a little bit like Vaseline or putty, I think. It can be melted and reused, it's like wax. It cuts and acts just like flesh. It can be frozen to last longer, and it's also a lot cheaper. The cons of gelatin. Larger pieces can be very heavy again. It's usually only used on the day when you need it. You can't really keep it unless you freeze it, I guess. Doesn't need a very high temperature to melt, so keep it out of your hot car. I guess if your hands were hot enough and the gelatin was thin enough, you could even melt it on your hands. And it isn't durable, so you've got to be careful when handling it. So like, you've put gelatin or putty on your face, you're going to bash your face into the wall. There you go, your prosthetic is a bit screwed. Application. So I'll run through this really quick. What do you glue a prosthetic with? You glue it with Prozaid or Pro Clean. You need an adhesive and a remover. Again, Prozaid, Plus Clean, Telesis or Spirit Gum. Telesis is usually a silicone prosthetic. I guess you can use it for a normal one, but again, test it if you're not sure it works. Prozaid and Pro Clean are the most common ones, which are pretty good. Spirit Gum is pretty good, but Spirit Gum is for beginners. Still good, but it might not stick as well as Prozaid. Test your products. So sometimes you can be allergic to Spirit Gum because of what it contains. Prozaid is a little bit better for sensitive skin. It's a bit like eyelash glue. Gotta wait for it to go. You gotta wait for it to go transparent before you can put it on. You can be removed with rubbing alcohol. Don't use acetone, probably obvious. Just don't put acetone on your face. Just don't put acid on your face. Don't put anything on your face that will burn your skin off. Acetone, however, you can use it for dissolving and smoothing the edges of a prosthetic. So if you put it on a little brush, you can dissolve the edges with it. It's also used for the removal of acrylic nails. Some adhesive can be thinned with IPA, so you put rubbing alcohol in it, you can thin it out, and it won't be as thick and gunky. glue your piece down from the middle outwards. Build your way to the edges. So essentially don't glue the edges first and then work your way in, because you're going to get a massive air bubble and it probably will not look as good on your skin, and it will move throughout the day and you'll be able to feel it. You can blend the edges out a lot easier if you just kind of fold it on your face, blend it in. Be very careful when blending prosthetics near eyelids or your eyes in general, so just don't put acetone near your eyes, or if you're blending it out near your eyes, do it like an inch away from where your eye's going to begin. The photo there is basically blending it. It can take time to do it. That's a picture of Ray, who very kindly let me use her as a model at one point. Next bit is important. These kind of makeup can take hours to apply, so give yourself time. Label your shit. For the Lord's sake, label your glue. Because even if you put things in different cups, transparent cups, it can look a lot like other glues. I did know somebody that put super glue on their face, and it wasn't fun, because he didn't label his cups. It's very easy to mistake it. So just label your stuff. This was hilarious, and I'm really sad that the video is not working, because these were some really fun examples of bad special effects. If they don't work, I'm going to be very sad. But we can have a look at the end if I can get the videos to work, because we have 5 minutes, and I'm going to talk very quickly. Come on, load. The final slide is not working. Now it's working. If you combine everything together, you can get some really, really good results. Face Off is a good example of this. Have anyone seen Face Off? It was basically a sci-fi reality show where they all it was really good, wasn't it? Yeah, it was good, but that was like a very stressful environment to be in because they did everything in 3 days. But it was good, it was fun to watch, and it just basically gave you an idea. Yeah, yeah, because usually what takes like a month to do it, I think Mike died, oh well. Usually what takes a month to do it, they did it all in 3 days, and it was like, the stress is real. I would have died. I'd say that, and then I go and make a cosplay in like 5 hours and nearly kill myself.
I know, I was
Doing it. We do it to ourselves, don't we? I mean, what else are we supposed to do as cosplayers? It's not fun if we're not panicking. At least once. Now the mic is broken, I'm just going to shout across the room. I think that's it. Oh, if I missed anything, or I spoke really quickly, or said anything weird, I'm really sorry. I just get very nervous.
You're great.
Oh, thank you.